Welcome to Escaping Purgatory, a podcast where we rewatch Supernatural, then talk it through in the hopes that we can finally escape this show.
Join us each week and leave comments on upcoming episodes, and together we can escape supernatural purgatory.
Hi.
Hi.
Whew. It's hot.
Here.
It's hot in here.
Oh, it is. It is hot in here. It's that episode, people.
I know what you did last summer, which
Yes.
is season 4, episode 9, but it is getting into the summer now, and I'm like, yeah, it's actually just a bit too hot.
Yes. This past week where I'm at, it was reaching like 90 degrees during the day, which is like 30 something.
Yeah, it's like you need to translate that for me because it means nothing to me.
Centigrade or whatever. So yeah, 29. Next week is going to go up to 32.
Yeah, it's been good. It's been nice. But basically, I'm procrastinating because this episode is just a build-up episode and we don't really want to talk about it.
Yeah, no, it exists. I was a little disappointed. I thought it was going to be a bit more substance.
Yeah.
Especially after last week's sort of lack of substance. Like, last week was so bad.
Yeah, you're right, actually. And like this, there's a lot here. Like, it's it's basically an episode of exposition.
Yeah.
And I wonder why they did it this way. Like, it's kind of cool to know what Sam's been up to, but they could, I don't know.
Yeah. It could have been done without the framing of this episode, if you know what I mean. Like, It could have just been, I need to know what you did last summer.
Right.
Basically. Then the next episode can be about Anna's situation.
Yeah, I feel like Anna got overshadowed here by Sam's whole deal.
Yes.
I don't know. I think the problem is that during... I mean, we'll talk about it as we go through the episode, but during Sam's flashbacks,
Mm-hmm.
I kind of zoned out a little bit.
Yes.
And I think that they needed something else going on in the episode because otherwise this episode would have been worse. And that's not Sam's fault because I love me some Sam Winchester.
Mm-hmm.
It's that what's happening with him and Ruby is
quite not that interesting.
It's cliche. Like,
yeah.
I mean, maybe it's because we already know as well.
Yeah, I guess so. And also, I don't know. We got quite a bit of Ruby, obviously, in season 3. That Ruby feels very different to this one.
Yeah.
She feels less competent.
Yeah.
Is that the word I'm looking for? You know, she doesn't, like, Ruby came in, she did her stuff, got out and was like, you're going to do what I say. Whereas this Ruby is trying to... I mean, I get why she's changed up her strategy because it didn't work the first time. Being an aggressor wasn't helping Sam. It was just making him go dark side, but not in a good way. It was going John Winchester dark side.
Yeah.
Whereas being like a sympathetic, let me break down your insecurity. I don't know. It just is a different approach, and I don't like manipulators, and she is very manipulative in this, and it's icky.
Yeah. I feel like Ruby, that this iteration of Ruby for Sam was trying to fill the void that Dean left in his life with some of the things that she says to him and like gives him some direction. But it is very manipulative. The whole time I was watching it, I was like, oh, you sneaky woman.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, this is obviously a build up to next week's episode. So I think we can forgive it as a part 1.
Yeah.
The thing is, I know next episode is extremely important.
Yeah.
Like, I remember what happens. It has been fanficked to death. So yeah, I can forgive it. I mean, this one was written by Sarah Gamble. I assume the next episode is also written by Sarah Gamble. And yeah, directed by Charles Beeson, so we've seen his work before. So the next episode isn't written by Sarah Gamble then. That's really interesting. Who's it written by?
Trevor Sands.
They must have all done this collaboratively because there's no way they could have done the part 1, part 2 completely separately. I mean, obviously all the work with the writers on Supernatural are collaborative, but it's just who finally gets their name on the, I wrote this. at the end, I think.
Jeremy Carver is credited as executive story editor.
Oh.
So maybe like on both of these, on next week's and this week's. So I'm wondering if like he gave the overview and then let other people fill in the details.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Cool. So, I mean, let's get into it. I think neither of us really watched the recap, right, of this one. For me, it went straight into the episode. I'm not sure if there was a recap or not.
There was. It was very much, they took out pretty much all of the last episode, wishful thinking just didn't exist, not even like the last sort of 30 seconds. It was just talking about the rising of the witnesses, the seals being broken by Lilith, and Sam exorcising a demon. So basically the big plot points of this season. So we're in some sort of hospital, and a woman is sort of like staring off into the distance. And the psychologist is sort of trying to talk to her, and we all know who she is. I feel like it's Anna.
Yeah.
And she's trying to explain that she was trying to warn them. And it's very much apocalyptic speech, right? It's the sandwich board guy saying the end is coming. And the psychologist doesn't believe her. Like, she's saying that, you know, the apocalypse, like in the Bible. And Anna's like, kind of. This demon Lilith is trying to break the 66 seals to free Lucifer from hell, and Lucifer will bring the apocalypse. And then Anna sort of again looks off into the distance, does like a head tilt thing. And she says, the psychologist asks what's going on. She says she's just listening. And this is really important stuff, actually, because we all know about the 66 seals that need to be broken.
Yeah.
And the psychologist asks, like, you know, essentially, are there only 66? And Anna's like, no, there's 600 possibilities, but there only needs to be 66 broken, which makes sense as to why I feel like there must have been questions coming up about like, well, if they know there's only 66, why aren't they guarding each of the 66, right?
And like, Kath had made allusions to this before, because when he's speaking to Dean in the kitchen at Bobby's house, I think he had said that they'd managed to defend one of the seals. So you think, like, if there are only 66, like, well, you only have to defend one and you win. Yeah,
exactly. But we're finding out there's actually 600. I do like that they didn't say 666. Right. I know we get there with 666 seals, but I'm glad they didn't lean into that. Oh, there's 666 seals. Like, I'm glad it was just 600. And then Anna explains that, you know, it's nearly impossible to stop her because they just don't know, and the angels are losing, and, you know, we're all gonna die.
I think I remember watching this episode for the first time, and I mean, spoilers here, but like, we all know where this is going. And I didn't guess who Anna was for a really long time. It would made more sense to me for her to be like a prophet. But watching it back, what she does here is really clever, because there are certain, like you say, like the head tilting and just some kind of the mannerisms in this where you're like, there's a family resemblance here.
So it's a little bit later on in the day, and an attendant walks into her room with her meds. I do love the fact that, like, there's something about supernatural framing that I was like, oh, this nurse is the bad guy.
It's like, how do you know? I just know something about the camera work is like, this is a bad guy.
It's like, watching his actions close up, I was like, because it was like showing him his hip and his hand getting the medicine, and I'm just like, oh no, he's a bad guy. Yeah,
he just is. I don't know, can't tell you why, but he just is.
He just is. Anna turns to him and she like starts to freak out because obviously she can see his demon face, and says, what happened to your face? And the attendant's like, oh, I know. And like, his eyes go black. And he says, I'm downright kissable. I was like, how are you there? Are you there? Not really. Anna then sort of uses her mind to push a chest of drawers into him and the door, and like, he cracks his head and falls down. And then somehow she can open the door, even though there's now a fully grown man and a chest of drawers, which is heavy enough to knock him out. And yet she can like struggle with the door to get it.
She's got telekinesis, Annabelle, so what else do you want? Like, she's just supernatural.
I want an explanation of these. No, just kidding.
Yeah, it's a cool introduction to Anna. I've completely forgotten. I, for some reason, thought Anna was in season 5. My brain is completely addled lately, so I don't know. But yeah, I was like, oh, Anna. Yeah, I know this does make sense with where this is going, because, I mean, we've got In on the Head of a Pin coming up too, and yeah, that's It's
funny, because at the beginning of this episode, in my mind, I was like, I thought Ruby was in this more often. And, like, I think I was thinking of this episode because of what happens. And so I wasn't surprised that Anna was in season 4.
I just don't know. I get very much season 4, season 5 just very confused in my mind. I don't know what it is, but something about it.
It's the same story, right?
Yeah,
because it doesn't come to a conclusion until season 5.
Mm-hmm. Pretty much, I think that's why. So we cut to Sam and Dean hustling a guy for money in pool, and like it's obvious that they're hustling this guy because Sam's acting drunk, but him and Dean are kind of like winking to each other as they're getting this guy to bet more and more money. But then, out of the corner of his eye, Sam sees Ruby and is just like, keep the money, bye.
Just completely drops the act, like he's now 100% sober.
Yeah, it's a great switch. And Dean sees her too, so there's a whole little confrontation going on here. You know, Dean says, well, you've got a lot of nerve showing up here. It's so very, like...
The dialogue in this is so weird. It's very, very weird. I will say that, like, the moment that he sees Ruby, I cannot explain the look on Dean's face, but it just makes me laugh. It's like, it's almost like a what the fuck, but it's not really. It's like, are you serious? But not, I don't know. It's almost like hurt. It's very weird. It's like, you're messing with the money. You don't mess with the money.
Yeah, I read it as like, why is Ruby here to make my day worse? Like, yeah. Why is she here? So Ruby's come to warn them. Oh, she's got some information and she's going to disappear again to not cause any trouble. They need to find a girl called Anna Milton, so we find out her name straight away. She escaped from a locked ward, but the demons are hunting her, so Ruby's come to give them this information. Ruby doesn't know who she is, because Sam does ask. It's obviously if some people are after her, then she must be important in some way. Sam's like, okay, let's go. And Dean's like, no, Ruby brought this to us. I think it's interesting. I mean, we know Dean and Ruby don't get on for reasons, many, many good reasons. And I think he's ready to drop this case just because she brought it to them. It's kind of telling of how much he doesn't trust her because... Yeah,
and he has no reason to trust her.
Mm-hmm.
Especially since she openly admitted that she was lying to Sam about saving Dean. And like basically lied about everything that she is and who she is and all that kind of stuff. So it's like, well, why would her helping her, like at no point in season 3 did her helping them really help them.
No. I mean, it's interesting to think about the passage of time, right? Because Sam's had 6 months to get to know Ruby. Well, you know, after he buried Dean and all that kind of stuff, and we kind of find out how long that was later on in the episode. So he's kind of only really knew Ruby for like that amount of time and has come to trust her. Where like Dean was probably like seething about Ruby for like 40 years.
Yep.
And it's just harder for him to get over, I think, because it looks like she basically wasted their time, right? Because when they were trying to find a way to get Dean out of hell, there was always in the back pocket, like, well, Ruby can help us in some way. And then it turned out that she couldn't. And it just, it took away their backup. And then Dean ended up in hell and had 40 years to think on, well, she lied to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's very true. Like, Dean can hold a grudge.
Oh, yeah, he can.
And his time has been accelerated. And, like, I'm sure he somewhat blames her a little bit. Again, like in reference to what you're saying with like she was their sort of back pocket savior almost, which turned out to be a lie. So of course he's going to hold, like I said, a resentment grudge.
Yeah.
And it would just get twisted among and having to do the things that he had to do.
I feel like during his time in hell, Dean's feelings for the people in his life were like magnified, right? Yeah. It would make sense. So his kind of love and protectiveness of Sam is like tenfold now, and he's trying to protect him from all this dark side biz, and also trying to stop him from going down like the demon path that Dean's basically on. Whereas like, yeah, your resentment would also grow in those like even like minor grudges, I feel. But yeah, I don't know. It's sometimes interesting to think about how old they are now.
That's true.
It changes so much later on as well. We can't keep this up because it doesn't work. So yeah, basically Dean's like, we've got a case, we're not going to do it. Sam's like, no, we are going to do it. And then pretty much we cut to them going and doing it. So Sam gets his way. They're driving in the Impala at night time. And Sam is talking on the phone, trying to get information about Anna, and says like, well, she's real. This case is real. She definitely did disappear. And Dean's like, yeah, it better be because this hospital's a 3-day drive away. Which,
I will jump in here. Whenever has it taken them 3 days to get anywhere? This is Dean we're talking about. Even if they... Because he got from Kansas to Colorado and back in a day, which, no, that doesn't happen. He must have been going from the Keys to Washington State. That is the only way that I could think that it takes 3 days of like straight driving, because they don't stop. They don't stop for driving. They get to where they need to get, right?
Yeah. Maybe Dean was talking like real person time. This is a 3-day drive, but like Winchester time, it's maybe like 12 hours, it's fine. Yeah. Like their brain switches off in those 3 days because Chuck just turns them off between driving places. I swear to you.
That's true. That is very true. I mean, that their brains are turned off on this one as well. Like you would think that if demons are after a human, you have angels on your side.
Yeah.
Throw up a prayer.
Yeah, but the trust isn't there yet, Annabelle.
Yeah, I know.
The trust. Yeah. It does come. Soon. So while they're driving, they're talking, as usual.
You're not pissed we're going after the girl. You're pissed Ruby threw us the tip.
Right. Because as far as you're concerned, the hell bitch is practically family. I mean, boy, something major must have happened while I was downstairs. Because I come back and your BFF with a demon?
I told you, Dean. She helped me go after Lilith.
Well, thanks for the thumbnail. Real vivid.
Is Dean like jealous? I don't know what this is.
Some people are very, very protective of like their core family. Like they will not let other people in. And Dean is very much like that. Like family is Mary, John, Sam, and Dean. That is it.
It's like in order to accept someone into your trust, like in Dean's head, they have to be family. They have to do something that earns them the place of being family. I feel like Bobby's there. But, like, it's interesting later on because Cass and Jack definitely earned that place in Dean's mind of family. And so does Eileen.
You would think that Crowley would, right?
Crowley's like... He's like an uncle, but like he's an uncle who's not related to you,
Yeah, he's married into the family uncle.
yeah. I don't know why that feels so spot on for Crowley. That's like the perfect dynamic that he has with Dean. It's like he never wanted him to be part of the family, but through marriage it happened.
Yep.
And he says like something major must have happened because I come back out of hell, like paraphrasing, and you're BFFs with a demon. And Sam's like, well, I told you she helped me go after Lilith. And when Dean asks for some detail, Sam's like, sure, hell was hell. And then they just sit in silence for a bit.
Which is really telling. Like when that happened, I made a note of it because I was like, they're never quiet on screen in the car.
No.
And they are quiet for a significant amount of time. It may have only been like 5 or 6 seconds, but that is significant in television time.
It really is. It's like, oh yeah, you really don't want to tell anybody about this.
And I love the fact that he's like, oh, I'm going to come clean later on in the episode. But he doesn't mention this.
That's so
this is just in his head.
This is true. So Yeah, you're right, because there are several flashbacks in this, and there's one flashback later where he's telling Dean. But you're right, this flashback that's about to happen, he doesn't tell Dean this. I think he did mention it. To be fair to Sam, I think the first episode, Lazarus Rising, when Dean confronts Sam about trying to save him, or like because he thought he brought him back, I think Sam does say then, like, I tried everything, I tried to make a deal and no one would take it. Mm-hmm. So he kind of alluded to it, but this was kind of not that. This is different.
Yeah, this is like, yeah, I went to see a Crossroads demon, but they told me something that I should probably tell you because it's pretty big.
It's pretty big. Okay, so yes, we see Sam at a crossroads 6 months earlier in the summer, hence the name of the episode.
Yeah.
And he summons a crossroad demon. He looks like a businessman. Sam is in not good shape. He is drinking a lot. He is drinking the whole time. He's like burying this box. It's like bury with one hand, like drinking out of a bottle with the other hand. It's very sad to watch. Mm-hmm. And the crossroads demon appears, asks him about the knife, and Sam puts the knife down to like placate him. Mm-hmm. Sam's like, I'm not here to play games. There aren't any devil's traps or anything. Oh, the crossroads demon, his line here is really good.
You want to make a deal? And round the Winchesters go.
Sam then stabs the crossroads demon in the hand with the knife. Like the demon's kind of dumb because he should have got him to like kick the knife away, not just have it within like arm's reach of him while they're having this conversation. And Sam says, I don't want 10 years, I don't want 1 year, I don't want candy.
Fair.
Which, yeah. He wants to trade places with Dean. And the crossroad demon says no. And Sam's like, it's a fair trade, is like shouting at him. And asks why not. Like, why won't they take him? Because it is a fair deal. Like, Lilith wants him dead, so why don't they want him dead? And the crossroad demon says, you don't understand, Sam. It's not about your soul. Dean's in hell, right where we want him. We've got everything exactly the way we want it. You want to kill me? Go ahead. I've made my peace with my lord. It's like, that's a line.
That is a huge line, especially since I don't think at this point Sam understands that my lord.
Yeah,
part.
Who is that? Ooh.
Who is that? If he had told this to Dean, Dean would know what he's talking about.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I guess you can guess that it might be Lucifer. I guess so, possibly. I mean, what's telling is that the demons wanted Dean in hell. You're right, this is important because it's showing that him selling his soul and going to hell was all part of a bigger plan in the end. I just don't think either of them, like Sam or Dean, have made the connection between how much they play into this ongoing plan that seems to be happening. Mm. And I'm really surprised Sam hasn't made the connection between Dean, hell, coming back, angels, apocalypse. Like,
yeah, and especially since, Uriel in the episode before last openly confronted him saying, like, you're useful at the moment. Mm-hmm. Like, he's getting a lot of puzzle pieces, and Sam's usually pretty good at putting puzzles together. Maybe there aren't enough.
Or maybe he's distracted.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, it's an important line. And yeah, you're right, he doesn't tell Dean this, which is hilarious, actually. Oh my God. Back in our time, mm-hmm. We see Sam and Dean go to the hospital where Anna escaped from. I noticed that they're dressed, these Fed suits that they're dressed in mm-hmm. are like, they're very, there's something about them, and I don't know if they have been wearing them this whole season, but it just seemed very familiar. Like, these are the suits they wear for like the rest of the seasons. That's
probably what it is. This is probably us seeing them in the future, noticing it now.
Like Dean's tie, definitely. That blue and white striped tie, mm-hmm. or like blue and silver. Yeah, for sure. He wears that again. And they're talking to Anna's psychologist and asking about how she escaped. The orderly has no recollection of her escaping because he was possessed. Like, we know that. So it turns out that Anna, like 2 months ago, had been happy, well-adjusted, doing like a college degree in journalism, lots of friends, and then suddenly something happened to her. Mm-hmm. The psychologist thinks that it's schizophrenia, But when she tells them what the delusions that she's having are, Sam and Dean are looking at each other like, oh, this poor girl.
These are not delusions. These are happening.
Yeah. So Anna's seeing demons, and psychologist says, it's not uncommon for our patients to believe that monsters are real. And I just think the look that passed between Sam and Dean, they're like, wonder how many people in here are like hunters. Right? You would think that. You're like, I wonder how many people get committed because they've seen a monster or seen a vampire or suddenly decide that they're in this universe. I'm surprised they kind of do address it a little bit. There is an episode where they go to like a psychiatric unit that we haven't got to yet. But yeah, I don't know. They hand over, the psychologist hands over Anna's notebook, and as they're looking through it, it's basically like title cards of episodes.
Yeah.
She's been watching
These are the
show.
storyboards.
Yeah. And like Dean makes a reference to like, that's Revelations, and the psychologists are like, since when does the Book of Revelations have jack-o'-lanterns? It's the raising of Samhain. It goes on to explain that Anna's father was a church deacon, so when she got ill, her paranoia had like, religious overtones. They think it's all connected, and that she was convinced that the devil was about to rise up and end the world. Anna's spot on, and again, like I think you could think that she was a prophet at this point. I think when I first watched this, I thought, oh, this is how they're going to introduce like some kind of prophet. You know, can see exactly what's happening and you know everything that's going down, but no one believes her. So Sam and Dean, they go to Anna's parents' house, but they're both dead. They find a convenient pile of sulfur, again, just like a demon like just pooped it out.
To me, it looked like it looked like a line of sulfur on the this demon's just like doing a line of cocaine and leaving sulfur behind.
I can't get the image out of my head of like, because it's just little piles of sulfur. Like pixie dust from like Peter Pan. You know how Tinkerbell just sort of gives off pixie dust. So it's like they're just sprinkling it as they go. And I just want Crowley to do that just one time. Just leave a place and be like, oh wait, I forgot my calling card, and just like throw some sulfur at them or something. I don't know. Just make some kind of reference to how stupid this is.
I mean, I kind of get it on the windowsills, like maybe as the smoke passes through, it like scrapes off something. I don't know. Yeah, it's a weird addition. Yeah, it's a weird addition.
Is it like coughing it up, or is it shedding from their clothes, or are you right? Is it just the smoke? Like, how are they manifesting sulfur? Like, where is it coming from?
If we had seen a demon smoke out, and leave sulfur behind.
Just like one time.
Then we know that the smoke is made of sulfur, basically, and just like solidifies into a powder. Sure, I could get behind that maybe, but like you're right. Like, are they just shedding it? It's
hilarious to me, and I wish they'd made more of it because it is just like the thing. And again, if it had been like a coating, right? So if they'd like wiped their hands on the floor because it looks dusty and have been like, oh, that's sulfur, I'm like, yeah, that makes more sense. But it's just a convenient pile. Just a little pile of sulfur.
Dean is looking around the room. I love the fact he makes a Girl Interrupted reference here.
I know, right?
Because Misha's in that movie. Like, he's in one scene. So like Misha comes on I mean, this is a correct reference because in Girl Interrupted they escape from their locked ward. Yeah. And like go off and people die. So it's a very accurate description, but it's also Misha was in that movie. Misha's introduced to this season and he gets a name drop.
I love that. Again, we could add this to the canon of like Mark Sheppard being in X-Files, right? And him. So are we saying that Jimmy Novak once had a small role in Girl Interrupted?
Yes. Yes. Sam looks at a picture of like a family photos on the mantle and asks for the sketches that in Anna's notebook, and he sees that she's been redrawing the stained glass window that's at this one particular church. They come to, again, Sam's very good at putting puzzles together, and he's like, well, she escaped, she doesn't know where to go, where would you go? Somewhere familiar, the church. And so this is one shot that I was very confused about in this episode, because they get to the church and it's just like, you get the headlight of the Impala, just one headlight.
Yeah.
And then the church in the background. It's like, okay, well, we know that they're going to go to the church. Why is it framed like this weird Dutch tilt? I was just like, what is...
The thing for me is this stained glass window doesn't feel very American to me. I don't know what it is.
Well, we've seen it before in the other Angel episode with, I can't remember the episode name, but I think it was season 2, where like a ghost of a pastor or father is telling people, and in that church it has stained glass windows. They this type of church, like the way that it's a very kind of is a grey building, generally don't have stained glass windows, but Catholic churches definitely do.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Like, this looked like... So, for me, you know I love a church. This type of church, so like the wooden slatted church it is, didn't seem the type to have this very large stained glass window in it.
Right.
It's quite unusual. I think it's quite cool looking, but it's quite unusual. I like the reference that you're saying, like angels and stained glass windows are like seem to be connected in some way in Supernatural. I just think, what is an angel if not light through a stained glass window, Annabelle?
Oh,
yeah,
that's very poetic. I quite like that. So they enter the church. They're all like ready to go. Anna chose a really dumb place to hide. She hides behind a stained glass window, so like they can see. It's still a window, so you can see through it, like not clearly, but then they notice her. They notice Anna behind the glass. Sam calls out to her and says, "You know, my name is Sam, and this is my brother Dean." And Anna's like, "Sam, not Sam Winchester." And then she turns to Dean and says, "You're Dean." And it's like, "Well, yeah, I'm the Dean, I guess."
I love that. Like, the Dean.
And she basically goes into fangirl mode.
Funny.
She gives a very quick recap of what's happened in this season so far. So like, the angels talk about you. You were in hell, but Cassiel pulled you out, and some of them think you can save us. And some of them don't like you at all and like look to Sam. I was just like, oh, Sam. When I heard this, I was like, how must Sam feel, right?
I know.
Some angels love Dean, who cannot stand them.
Yeah. And
Sam is being rejected by the things that he believes in.
I know. Tragedy.
Tragedy, yeah.
Season 4 and 5 for Sam is just tragedy all over. Like, Dean's kind of like, it's kind of bad for it's kind of bad for Dean, this storyline. Like, the season 4 or 5, like, he's not having a great time. It's not good. But for Sam, this is devastating.
It really is. It really is. Like, he should have just picked another religion.
Just pick another religion, Sam. This one said no to you. Like, you chose it and they were like, we don't want you actually. Like, just go, go be a Buddhist.
Or just go, it's something else.
Just this isn't the one for you. The angels don't like you very much. We know there are other gods. Go pray to Apollo. He might have you.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Like, you don't need to choose a contemporary religion.
Bless him. I mean, I do appreciate in this scene the absolute fangirling of Anna. Like, this is peak Supernatural fandom too, where it's like, Dean Winchester, and it's like, and Sam.
Yes, I didn't even take it that way, but yes, that's exactly what it is. Like, you just go watch the streams of like all the recordings of panels when it's them two, and it's just like, this is a question for Jensen, but like, I guess Jared, you could answer too.
It's so bad. They are both main characters in this TV show. Look,
they planted it. They planted it right here.
It's in our minds. They decided here and now Dean was a more important character, apparently. I've decided that seasons 4 and 5, I'm becoming a Sam stan, because I feel like he doesn't get enough love from the fandom. So Dean can go do Dean things with Cass, and it's all about Sam for me for the next 2 seasons.
I say that. That's not going to happen at all.
It's not going to happen. But I'm going to try.
This is the beginning of the greatest romance on TV history, right?
Yeah, and I just feel like we should ignore that and just go with like Sam's thing that he's got going with Ruby.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I love Anna. You said something before the podcast which I thought was very cool. She looks very unearthly here, I feel.
Yeah, so the thing that I noticed, which I wouldn't mind so much if there was a reasonable explanation for the light source, but she has 4 catchlights in her eye, which I'm talking about the 4 like light. When you get a picture, you know, you'll see the dots in people's eyes.
Yeah.
She has 4 of them in her eye, so it makes her eyes look massive.
Yeah.
Like her eyes look black, like her pupils are not the entire sclera, but just like her pupils are very dark. Her hair is very, like her skin is very white, and then her hair is very red. So it's just like, she doesn't look human.
Yeah, I agree with you. She does look ethereal. Like, it's the way they shot her in this episode I thought was very cool, actually.
Yeah, it kind of gave off like a Morticia Addams look. Like, you know how...
Yeah.
Letterbox eye kind of thing that she has going on, the contour.
Yeah.
It feels very much like that. Like her face is lit up, but like the rest of her isn't.
And then she's dressed in like very Hunter-esque kind of clothing almost, with like a canvas jacket and things.
Yeah.
It's almost like, yeah, she's housed in a very normal exterior. Basically, it all goes with her storyline. I thought it was very wicked on a rewatch to kind of see that.
Dean asks, so you talk to angels? And she's like, oh, no, I don't. I just listen to them. I overhear them. And she's like, yeah, well, sometimes they talk, and sometimes I can just hear them in my head. And this is where angel radio gets coined.
I love this.
It's kind of great. I am looking forward to the moment that Dean says angel radio to Cass and like what his reaction is, because I'm pretty sure he does like a head tilt of like, what?
The thing about angel radio is it becomes kind of an angelic meme, because if you listen out for it later on, other angels start calling it angel radio. So it's like Cass heard it from Dean and then told the other angels about it. He's like, and conversation must have gone something like this. You know, the like great holy communion where we all our voices intersperse with each other's and we communicate. Yeah, well, this human calls it angel radio, and I feel like this just sums it up better, so we're going to use that now.
The other one takes too long to say.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, angels are, in a way, supposed to love humanity, right?
Yeah.
Not all of them do, and that's... Anyway. So, I think it's almost like charming to them, right?
Yeah.
So, like, a human took this concept of communication that we have been using for, you know, ever, since the dawn of time, and gave it this name, and like it's just endearing. The same way, like, you know, humans gave animal names, they call them those animals.
Yeah,
names.
That's true. I wonder if that's part of it as well. Like, humans naming a concept makes it more so, if that makes sense. So that's part of the reason why they start using it. It also shows the level of respect they have for Cass like the angels do at one point, because they do take on his colloquialisms that he's picked up from Dean. And it only must be because he's like their fearless leader, which doesn't last, but...
Here we are, like, analysing these 2 words, and it's probably just because, like, it's easier to say. That's really, it was just a decision in terms of, like, anyway, but yeah, I love it.
But it totally works, too, because even in, like, Good Omens, right, I thought of this, too, when, like, Aziraphale's trying to talk to Metatron and stuff. That was almost like they were trying to establish a telephone connection. It's very on par with angel radio, and... It's a very good descriptive way of like how angels in popular media seem to communicate. I don't know, like Dean just nailed that one. I mean, I'm giving him the credit. I don't know which writer wrote that, but I'm going to give Dean the credit, so it's fine.
Yeah, I mean, of course, Dean gets all the credit all the time. We are Anna. Sam asked, do you remember when it started? And for some reason she knows the exact date, and it's September 18th, which is when everything kicked off. Yeah. Do we call that Dean's birthday now?
I mean, technically, but no.
His rebirth day. Yeah. Does he get 2 like the Queen?
Yeah, Dean Winchester gets 2. Yeah.
And I mean, it makes sense as to why Anna would like idolize Dean, because the first words that she heard.
First words I heard, clear as a bell. Dean Winchester is saved.
It should also scare the living crap out of her too. Yeah. That she's meeting the thing that she's been carrying in her head. Yeah. Like if that manifested in real life, wouldn't you be screaming and running the other way?
That's so true. Yeah, she's not scared of them at all, which must mean, I mean, even she's not even scared of Sam. So the angels must be speaking somewhat highly of both of them.
That's true.
Or is just Cass drowning everyone else out with like, Dean, 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 Dean.
I mean, did you see what Dean did today? Did you see his outfit today? He was looking so good today, right? Did you see the way he killed that monster? Did you see how he was fighting?
Cass has a Dean Winchester podcast on Angel Radio.
Yes. Yep. And he goes through and breaks down what he did each day. Yeah. He's not really leading. This is how he's leading an army.
This is so true. He's just inspiring them with tales of Dean Winchester's hamburger habits. Oh. It's so funny to think of that, because like when he does turn up in this episode, he's so like stone-faced stoic, but in his brain he's like, "Dear diary, today Dean was wearing the green jacket."
I'm sad that he wasn't wearing his brown leather one, but
right, yeah. His eyes were so green. Is it possible for people's eyes to get greener?
Absolutely. That is 100% what was going on. And that is why Anna is such a fangirl.
She's been reading Cass's fanfic. Okay, I'm leaving it.
So they're trying to figure out like why this is kind of the reason why that the demons are after Anna is because she can hear the angels. So if she can hear the angels, they can find out what their plans are and circumvent them. You're 1/900 angel, that's all he says. And Anna asks about her parents. She said she couldn't go home because she was afraid. Then Ruby runs in, and Anna knows she's a demon because she says your face. They're like, oh, she's here to help. Well, Sam's like, she's here to help. And it's very urgent. Like, Ruby needs them to go because a big time demon is coming, and we can fight later, but now is not the time. Dean's not convinced that it wasn't Ruby who brought the demon along, because suddenly she's there and the demon's right on her tail.
I'm not convinced either. I was with Dean on this.
Yeah, no. I was like, and Ruby deflects by saying, well, they followed you from her house, which also kind of makes sense. They would be watching the house.
This is the problem with Ruby. What's true and what's not true.
Yeah, she tells half-truths all the time. And then they see that a statue in the church is its eyes are starting to bleed, okay, fine.
Well, this is what I miss, because they take so much of the gravitas away from angels and demons, because this demon is being preceded by, like, the Virgin Mary crying blood in this statue. Mm-hmm. And then, like, you get Crowley later on and he's just like, hello. Like, where are his, like, demonic omens that he was preceding? I really wish they'd kept this gravitas that they have. And it's seen later with the angels when they appear as well, because they take a lot of their power away. Where are the omens?
Yeah, that's very true. And, like, I mean, in this episode there is reference to Lilith's omens.
Yes.
But you're right. A lot of the like harder hitting demons, that they lose all of that. And is that to say that Crowley, even though he crowned himself the King of Hell, doesn't have the power of the King of Hell? But at the same time, he's a very powerful demon.
Yeah. I mean, I think to Abaddon, right, he was supposed to be extremely powerful. I don't think we ever saw any demonic omens around her.
No, they I feel like they dropped all of that.
Yeah, because it would have been way easier to track her, first of all. But yeah, I miss it because I want to know what Crowley's weird demonic omen was. Maybe he makes birds fall from the sky, or your glass break, or because he's like a more of a minor demon. Maybe it was something really dumb.
Well, we know that they do drop a lot of like, you know, lights flickering and all that kind of stuff for demons and angels. So
it could have been really funny if Crowley's was like tripping over your own foot. So like, you know, Sam has a little stumble and he's like, "Where's Crowley?"
Yeah.
Like, every time.
Or like you taste, I don't know, burgers or something.
Yeah, or it's like mojitos.
Yeah.
I'm craving a mojito. Where's Crowley?
Ruby looks very scared and says, "Too late, he's here." Sam hides Anna and takes out a flask of holy water. Ruby's like, "No, you can't do it that way. You're going to have to use your powers to put him, like, to get him down." Which
is why I think that she led him there, because it's like, oh, but I don't know though, because it's really hard. I can't remember what Ruby's doing. I can't remember if how much manipulation she's having. It bothers me.
Because she's on Lucifer's side, right? Which
means she's on Lilith's side.
Season 3 was the thing that messed everything up.
Yeah.
Because there's... Yeah. I don't know. I'm going to have to like let it go and just like let it happen, because I can't think about it because I'm just getting confused.
We'll get to the point where everything gets explained and then we'll be like, oh, right, yeah, fine.
Yeah.
But this is it. Like, I don't know. I don't fully... I'm on Dean's side here. I don't fully trust Ruby. I can see why he felt that she would lead the demon here.
They start to try and argue, like Dean and Ruby are trying to start an argument about like Sam using his powers, which is clearly interrupted because the demon enters and like Sam tries to exercise him and his eyes like roll back as if he's gonna do it, and then nothing.
His eyes go white like Lilith. They do the same thing, and I didn't remember that this demons did this, and yeah.
Yeah, it does. It is starting to click a little bit actually, that these two demons, like Lilith and this person, I'm trying to avoid saying his name right now.
Literally like 2 seconds, I'm gonna say.
I know. it's the tension, Amy.
The tension. Building tension.
You want us to say the name, huh?
We're not gonna say it.
Yeah, so he basically laughs at Sam trying to use his power.
The mannerisms and the voice.
That voice is haunting. Like, I can hear it.
Yeah.
And I've not watched this in years.
I know.
He's got a very, very unique voice. So this is the point you made before we started recording. The way that this demon throws Sam. I wish people could see Amy's face. She literally did the hardest eye roll. It was really cheesy.
It was like Ghostbusters level of cheese. Like,
yeah,
it was so good. Like, he flies. The thing that they did that made it funny was that he flies towards the camera.
He flies towards the camera and his feet are on the floor.
Yeah, his hands are like, whoa.
He's like slowly falling into the wall, but like his arms aren't moving. He's just like, oh, you know what? It reminds me of Nancy from the Craft.
Yeah,
when she does her thing.
If the GIF doesn't exist already, I'm gonna GIF that one because it's my fave. Like, I what was this camera shot? I love it.
Don't know. Mr. Beeson questions.
It's so funny. It's so funny.
Dean attacks this demon. with Ruby's knife. He's sort of like grabbed, and the demon says,
Hello again, Dean.
and like as soon as he said that, I was like, this is it. This is him. Oh no.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Don't you recognize me? Oh, I forgot I'm wearing a pediatrician. But we were so close. In hell.
Alistair.
This is no. No. I mean,
Is Sam knocked out here? Dean says it quite quietly.
he says it quite quietly. I don't think Sam heard. Because, no, he doesn't hear. Because, I don't know. The thing is, this doesn't fully tell the relationship that Dean and Alistair have, because he beats him very quickly.
Yeah.
But there's just, I don't know. There's something about him taunting him. Oh, I just hate it so much.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not looking forward to On the Head of a Pin, Annabelle.
No, none of us are. None of us. And if you are, why?
I don't know. It's pain. It's pain.
It is. It's straight up pain. And actually, so of course Sam's not knocked out because he comes over and stabs Alistair with the knife in his shoulder.
Yes.
The very next second. So he's not knocked out. He's just being knocked away. Mm-hmm. So he must have heard at least some of that. Because he did. Because he does make a reference to who that guy is.
He does, yeah. You're right. So Sam must have heard some of the exchange. It's the first time we're introduced to Alistair on screen, so we're all like, who's this guy? Mm-hmm. But yeah, this is a big deal. I'm surprised Dean isn't more shaken by it later on. But I think that they're hurt badly enough that they just get on with things in this episode.
I think so too. And also, like, Dean doesn't deal, right?
Yeah.
So he might be shaken, but his thing is to find an attack plan. Mm-hmm. So maybe it's less like, okay, he must have known that Alistair would come after him, surely.
I don't know. I don't know because he left him in hell.
Yeah.
So, I mean, one thing this does show is that Alistair is on par with Lilith, right?
Yeah.
So, and Sam's demon powers don't work, and neither does the knife. Mm-hmm. So, this does play into Ruby's plan a lot, because it's like, well, if you weren't able to exorcise Alistair, how are you going to go up against Lilith?
That's true. That is very true. Yeah, what is Ruby's motivation in killing Lilith? Is there a motivation? Is it just to get Sam strong enough?
I think so. As far as I remember, and like people correct me or whatever, because I'm not going to go ahead and look it up because I kind of want to not remember. I think most of it is a ploy to basically coerce him into, well, you need to improve your powers in order to kill Lilith. So in order to do that, you need to start drinking demon blood to get stronger, and therefore also preparing him to be Lucifer's vessel, but like inadvertently. I don't think it necessarily means she doesn't care for Sam. This is the thing I have about Ruby, is that I think she can still be this manipulative with him and coerce him into drinking demon blood and using his powers when she knows what the outcome's going to be. I think in Ruby's very strange, twisted way, she still cares about Sam, though.
I think she's just attracted to Sam.
Yeah, just a booty call.
I think that's what it is. I think if she's a Lucifer fangirl, and she's like, well, if Lucifer could be in this body, hell yeah. I
mean, yeah, that's totally valid too. I mean, I read it. After rewatching this is probably my third time rewatching Supernatural, which is not that many. I still don't fully understand Ruby's motivations, and I've watched it a few times. Like, if you know what I mean, I still don't quite get it. Maybe this time round, I'll finally understand her.
Through, so. Who knows? Who knows? And then they do the one thing that will never not be the French mistake. They look at the window, and there's big, powerful something after them. They run out the window and jump out the window.
You should have seen me watching this episode. I was like, they're going to do it. They're going to do it. They're going to do it. Yes, they jump through the window. Yeah, it's like some kind of sports team, like, score!
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was good.
Goal! Yeah, it was... none of that really makes sense as to why you would do that. Like, why would you injure yourself jumping through a window to escape? a demon that can teleport quite easily and just smoke out of its body.
Alistair let them get away this time.
Yeah,
He
absolutely.
definitely
Alistair let them get away.
He could have killed them, for sure. 100%.
Anyway, it was silly. And what do they get for it? Well, Dean has a dislocated shoulder and Sam has a massive gash on his arm, which they're back in the motel room. They managed to get away. Do they not realize how lucky they are? Do they not think that demons are following them everywhere? Do they not, like... Demons now know that Anna is in this town, so why do they go back to their motel? Why not go drive somewhere else?
I really don't know. Unless they have the hotel room really well warded, we just don't see that. I can see that being the case. That they do.
But they don't know much about wards yet.
No, I don't know. They've gone to lick their wounds in the hotel room. Like, I don't think we often see them get really this beaten up.
No, and we see them get beaten up, but we don't see this aftermath.
Yes. Of like Sam stitching his own arm up and Dean spitting blood and them having to like sort each other out. You know, Sam puts Dean's shoulder back in place. Which
I love.
I mean, that's how they do it though, isn't it? They do the countdown and then always go on the 1 or the 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, it adds a very, not only does it add a very human side to them of them having to like pick themselves back up again after this, but also really gives Alistair's power a lot of weight. Yes. Because you're actually seeing how hurt they were rather than them just brushing it off like they normally do.
And this plays into the fact of like, we needed more moments like this in the show.
Absolutely.
Because them fighting Alistair feels bigger than some of the other stuff that comes up that should have felt much more weighty.
I absolutely agree. Yeah.
When Sam pours the whiskey over his wound, I was like, no, that's got too much sugar in it. It's the wrong one.
Yeah, use something that's like a higher proof. Don't do that.
Yeah, just go for the vodka. It's there. I'm pretty sure it's there.
Some hand sanitizer, man. Like, what's wrong?
I doubt they have hand sanitizer. I mean, he has a stitching needle, like an actual medical stitching needle, but he doesn't have like alcohol wipes.
I know. I believe Dean Winchester, I don't like touching payphones, has hand sanitizer.
And like maybe it was it wasn't even a fishing hook. Like it was literally whatever. So they fix themselves up and, you know, Dean's ribbing him about losing the knife and Sam's like, well, yeah, I was saving your ass. So this is where can get the indication that Sam overheard some of the conversation because he says, who the hell was that demon? And Dean's response was like, no one good. Sam is trying to reassure Dean because Dean's like, well, we need to go get Anna. Ruby's like, no. Sam's like, no, Ruby has her. It's going to be fine. Like, and Dean, again, much like us, can't figure out why Sam trusts Ruby so much. Yeah. Sam puts together that demons are probably watching them, which, yes, of course they are. Like, you know. And Ruby will reach out to them once she can. Dean prods, is like, you know, why do you trust her so much? And he says, well, I told you. And I feel like Dean's response of like, you got to do better than that is absolutely true because it's like, what? She saved your life, but like, what?
Yeah.
Did she though?
I mean, Dean put down quite a clear boundary that he doesn't want to talk about hell. So like, I feel like that's fine, actually. But like, Sam's just been so vague. He hasn't said at any point that he doesn't want to talk about it. He's just been like, well, you know. And Dean's like, no, I don't know.
No, I don't know. Like... She hasn't done anything trustworthy for me. Like, why would you trust her when I'm not here? And Sam says, she saved my life. And then it's, again, we go back to it's a very lengthy flashback. Yeah. It actually lasts between an ad break, which I thought was quite interesting. And Sam is very much drunk. I guess he's on mid-hunt or something because he enters his room. Or I don't know what kind of room he's entering. I guess maybe it is his room. I don't know.
It's just a very dark room. It's very dark season room. 1 vibes.
Yeah. I did like the extra detail that they did to like the makeup of Sam. Like he has like heavy red bags under his eyes. Like he's definitely not in a good place.
Mm-hmm.
But as he walks into the room, he's attacked by a man and a woman. When they sort of subdue him, the woman says, well, thanks for keeping this warm. And it turns out it's Ruby. I got very much Buffy vibes from her, like with the long leather trench coat.
Yeah, I've called her Ruby 1.5. Because I forgot that there was this other vessel in this episode for Ruby, but fine.
I guess she's trying to go for the same look as the previous one, so maybe he would make the connection a little bit, you know, the tall blonde hair.
Yeah, that's true. And I think she kind of sensed that Sam already kind of had a thing for the first iteration of Ruby.
Maybe.
So it was like, oh, maybe blonde girls are his type.
Maybe. I don't know. Ruby explains that, like, she had a really bad time in hell, and, like, she had to convince Lilith that she'll do a better job, and that's why she's back topside. And all she had to do was find and kill Sam. And Sam's like, okay, we'll just go ahead then. I've got nothing to live for. End my life.
Yeah, basically.
But then she stabs the other demon and she says, go grab your keys. We've got to go now.
I mean, this is it. Ruby basically tells Sam her motivation. Because she's like, I had to get back out again. I had to, Lilith gave me a chance to get back up and I took it. Mm-hmm. But he doesn't really question what the thing was that they agreed to for her to get back up. So, and
all through season 3, she was against Lilith. So why is she suddenly having to agree with Lilith?
Yeah, because she's like, I had to get back into her good books almost. And it's like, well, you weren't supposed to be in her good books in the first place.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what are you doing? That should be a little bit of a red flag.
So we see Ruby 1.5 and Sam in the Impala together, and Ruby's asking for French fries, confirming that it's her because we know her love of French fries is extremely canon.
What made me laugh about this is like Ruby in the passenger seat of the car. I was like, she's in the wrong spot. She should be in the trunk. Yeah. She should have been Crowley'd.
Should have got Crowley'd. Goddamn. And she says that she's just escaped hell. And that Sam should thank her for saving him.
Who asked for your help?
You have no idea what I've been through. When Lilith gets pissed, she gets creative. You want to hear about the corners of hell I've seen, Sam?
No, I don't.
And the things I had to do to convince her I was sorry?
He's very much a season 1 Sam in these flashbacks.
Yeah, the regression. Even the jacket that he wears. He doesn't really wear that brown hoodie anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But they've dressed him in it here to make him look like, the passage of time. And then she goes on and says, do you want to know all the things that I had to do to convince her I was sorry, that I could be trusted? And it's interesting how communication between demons work, right? Because Lilith has been on Earth the whole time. Mm-hmm. She sent Ruby back to hell. So were they communicating back and forth in hell? Like, how was that whole situation happening? Or did she have lackeys?
Was she in hell, though?
Yeah, that's true. Was Ruby in hell?
Because all we know is that she was in Ruby 1.0.
Yeah.
And then she wasn't because Lilith had overtaken it.
Yeah.
And that is it.
That is it.
All we have is that her word that she was sent back to hell, but...
So many layers of intrigue.
Mm.
And probably not even that, like, convoluted. We're just making it more complicated than it is. And Ruby says, like, she's a fugitive now. She's betrayed Lilith again. She's doing this all for Sam. She said, I took all of this risk to get back to you, so I deserve a damn thank you. And I was talking again to Annabelle before we started recording the podcast. I don't know why this little speech is very reminiscent for me of Cass talking to Dean in episode 2 of season 5, where it's like, all of this, I did all of this for you. Look, the parallels between Sam and Ruby and Dean and Cass are definitely there, and they should have lent more into it and not denied that they were there because, come on.
Then it comes up again with Eileen, like it just keeps happening.
It just keeps happening. I mean, even Sam says here, again, this is a mirror of a conversation that Dean and Cass would have. Sam asks, who asked you to save me?
Mm-hmm.
It sometimes feels like you're taking, like, I don't know, some kind of crazy pills. Like, you see these parallels, and then they're like, what? No, we didn't intend to write that.
What are we talking about?
Just reading too much into it. Like,
just enjoy the show. Just put the blinders on and just watch these people hunt demons. That's all it is.
It's just hunting.
Okay.
It's just shooting guns and driving cars, and don't make any connection between the one brother having an illicit relationship with a demon and the other brother maybe having a no relationship with the angel. Anyway.
No. Angels are pure. They don't have anything down there. Like, of course they didn't.
The next episode. Anyway. Sam asks Ruby if she can help save Dean from hell. And Ruby's like, nothing I know is powerful enough to do that. And I think she's telling the truth here. She said that when Dean came back. Like, there's nothing I know that's both powerful enough to do that. So Sam pulls over the car and is like, well, get out then, because I've got no use for you if you can't help me save Dean. And then asks her, when she refuses to get out, whose body she's possessed. And Ruby's like, why do you even care? And it turns out that she's just a secretary. And Sam's like, well, let her go, or I'll send you back to hell. So Sam's taken a majorly, like, pro-vessel stance.
Yeah, finally.
Yeah. It doesn't last. So we cut to a woman in a coma in a hospital who says she's a Jane Doe. And as they turn off her machines, she sits up because, hey, it's Ruby.
Yeah.
And she says, who do I have to kill to get some French fries around here? They're really leaning into this as her, like, one character trait.
Yeah, definitely. It's like,
she really likes fries, guys. So anyway. we go back to Sam, and he's in some kind of dilapidated. No, I can't say that word. In some kind of abandoned. In some kind of that one. Yeah. Sam's in some kind of abandoned house, room somewhere. And someone knocks on the door. He grabs his gun, and it is Ruby in Ruby 2.0. She holds up a piece of paper as proof, as like, look, this is 100% socially conscious. I recycle. Al Gore would be proud, which is a reference.
That is definitely a reference.
And Sam's like, you grabbed a coma patient, and that's fine, apparently. Like, this is ethical now, because her spirit's gone. So there is no Ruby in there. Jane Doe, I guess. Sam's like, why are you here? And Ruby's like, well, I can't bring Dean back, but I can help you with something else. I can help you get Lilith. Sam automatically knows that's by using his demon powers. And he just agrees. Because she's ready to convince him, ready to go with the whole thing. And he's like, no, that's fine, let's do it.
Slow down there, cowboy.
Just tell me what I have to do.
I just kind of want to say that line to someone just one day. I don't know what context it would be, but I don't know.
Just like, slow down, cowboy.
Yeah, slow down there, cowboy. Like, there's something real flirtatious about that. I don't know. And Ruby explains that Lilith is really scary. And she's like, when I was there in the pit, there was talk that she's cooking something up big. Apocalyptic big. And it's like, Ruby. Stop playing coy. I know. She said, with a little patience and sobriety, so like calling out Sam's drinking, that she will teach him everything that she knows.
How does she know about these psychic powers? Aren't these very specific to Yellow Eyes? Like, what can she possibly... she's a witch. We know that she's a witch. Yeah. What could she possibly know about these specific demon anti-possession powers?
That's true. I mean... Look, Ruby's very sus. She's extremely suspicious. I don't know how she knows how to harness Sam's demon powers unless, she was working for someone who knew.
Yeah. Yellow Eyes, Lilith, Alistair, any of them.
Put the pieces in the puzzle, man. Put the pieces in the puzzle.
Yeah. He's obviously right now grief-stricken.
Yeah.
Constantly drunk by the looks of it. He's not in a good place, so he is not putting pieces together, but he is currently retelling this story to Dean.
Yeah.
And we've spoken about this before. I trust Sam as a narrative storyteller.
Yes.
mostly because he's never had to lie. Like, he's never had to lie to cover up for things. Like, yes, he's had to lie to, like, about demon or, like, monster hunting. But, like, actual stories in his life, he doesn't need to lie to anyone because he's usually telling John or mostly Dean, so he needs to know the whole truth. Dean is an unreliable narrator because he's always had to lie to somebody. He had to lie to John to cover for Sam in some cases, and he absolutely had to lie for John to Sam because of their childhood.
Exactly. Right.
So if this was Dean retelling the story, I would have major issues, but because Sam's retelling it, I'm like, oh yeah, this is probably all exactly what happened.
Yeah,
he probably did get a stroke.
Memory, like, he knows exactly what happened, what label of whiskey he was drinking. Like, yeah, it's I mean, he went full John Winchester. Is what happened? Dean died, and Sam went full John Winchester. It happened.
And we knew this was going to happen because of, you know, you look at the Trickster episodes.
Exactly. Like, it was, and like, they confirmed it essentially, which was good in a way, sad in another. Yeah. So we cut back to the motel room. Dean is listening intently, and he says, "What did she teach you?" And Sam says,
Well, first thing I learned, I'm a crappy student.
He knows he's not a crappy student, though. He got into Stanford.
I know. But I guess demon powers don't come as easily as law. I don't know.
Yeah. It doesn't come as easily as academics.
It's a practical skill, not a book skill. That's a really bad way of putting it, but you know what I mean. Because I'm book smart, but I say it like I'm dumb, book smart. I have zero common sense.
I can confirm this.
Like, put me in an academic setting.
No, you do have common sense, but like, I just think of that one pizza incident. Like, that has stayed with me for life.
Leave me and the pizza out of this. Oh, god damn. Yeah. We cut to Booksmart Sam. This is why I stan him. Me and him are very surprisingly similar. He's trying to exorcise the demon and he just can't do it. It's making him hurt, and as the demon laughs at him, Ruby kills it with a knife. And they just talk about the fact that he needs more practice. And Ruby's kind of saying, like, you know, it's fine, it'll get better. But she's not talking about the demon powers. She's saying about Dean, you know, his grief. That she thinks is holding him back here, I think. He sounds so much like Dean here. Sam says,
You know what? Where do you get off slapping me with that greeting card time heals crap? What the hell do you know?
that is a line out of the Dean Winchester playbook. Like,
yes. Yeah, absolutely.
And then so Ruby's like, well, I knew what it was like to be human because I used to be one. Like, I remember what it feels like to lose someone, and I'm really sorry. What is this seduction? There's a dead demon in the room.
You know, I completely forgot about that. I actually completely forgot there's just a dead person in the room. Yeah. I mean, it kind of sums up their whole relationship, I feel, this, but okay. You know, just having sex with a dead demon in the room. It's not even just a dead demon, it's a whole dead person. It's a whole dead dude. So, yeah, I mean, Ruby kisses Sam, first of all, and he pulls away and he's like, no, this can't happen. It's all very torturous. Like, yes. This is forbidden. Like, I'm a Victorian lady. We are from two separate families. I don't know what this is for Sam. Like, I think you're right. I think Ruby's seducing Sam because she finds him attractive. Mm-hmm. And it also is a manipulation technique as well, by trying to get him to care about her more in this way. Mm-hmm. For Sam, I honestly think he's grief-stricken and lonely. Yeah. That is it. I don't think there's anything beyond. He doesn't know what to do. He's just failed massively in this task that he's trying to do to avenge Dean. He fails completely at it, and is just at his lowest point. Yeah. And then someone comes along to offer comfort in a physical way. Yeah. That I don't judge Sam at all for doing this. Oh, absolutely 100% no, I don't either. I judge Ruby a lot. Oh yeah, Ruby's the one who's like, she's the one who's taking advantage at this point.
She is taking advantage. I do feel that. I feel like she's taking advantage of Sam in this moment because she knows he's at a low point in his life, can see that he's emotionally just not there.
And completely vulnerable.
Yeah. And kind of chooses this moment to make a move on him. It's, yeah. And I don't feel like that part of their relationship is ever really addressed. Like, there is about all the betrayal and stuff, but I feel like the fact that she just really did manipulate him in this way is not very much talked about.
He does give consent, but like, could he though?
Yeah, it's not right. Like, it doesn't feel... I mean, this scene is very hot and heavy, and it also felt extremely voyeuristic because these two people are married now.
Yeah, I know.
And I'm like, I don't feel like
I couldn't watch it. I couldn't watch it because I was just like, this feels wrong. It feels very wrong.
Some of the lines here as well, I don't really want to... I'm just going to say it, like, when she said, it's really nice inside this body, I was like, ugh.
Yeah, I know. I was like, if this is what your version of dirty talk is, then I don't want any part of it. This is bad.
I don't want any part of this. Yeah, I think we can all agree that this is extremely uncomfortable to watch. I'm with Dean on this because I feel like luckily for me that this scene cuts very abruptly and Dean's like,
Sam?
Yeah.
Too much information.
Hey, I told you I was coming clean.
Yeah, but now I feel dirty. Okay, well, brain stabbing imagery aside, so far all you've told me about is a manipulative bitch who screwed you, played mind games with you, and did everything in the book to get you to go bad.
Yeah, well, there's more to the story.
And it makes me wonder, what detail was Sam going into? Was he just zoning out? Like, yeah, and then this happened.
Oh yeah, he was definitely talking about like everything that was going on in that.
You don't need to tell Dean that.
That's your brother. He doesn't need to know. Like, you guys have obviously walked on each other before. Like, we've seen that happen, and he did it on purpose one time in season 3 to try and get his like attention. But like, he doesn't need descriptions.
Don't need to share those details about your life. Some things can be separate.
Absolutely.
I mean, Dean didn't appreciate
who was that scene for? Like, I've always had an issue with sex scenes in TV.
Same.
Because who is it for? And especially in this case, who is it for?
There must be some Sam Ruby shippers out there. It's for them.
Yeah,
which
it
fine.
Must be.
It's also showing the intensity of the relationship between Sam and Ruby that we didn't really know about before, right? Because we knew they were involved and we knew they were friends. It was suggested they were sleeping together, but it wasn't known. But now we know.
Yeah, this is a very like almost visceral, but not really.
Yeah, you're right. That is the word for it.
It's very primal.
It was. There was like a whole fire in the background. Again, dead body. It's all very demonic. Hey.
Yes.
So Sam says, I told you I was coming clean. And Dean's like, well, now I feel dirty. Brain stabbing imagery aside. So far, all you've told me about is a manipulative bitch who screwed you, played mind games with you, and did everything in the book to get you to go bad. Oh, so we look, I feel like we could have Dean on this podcast and he'd be like, yeah, I totally agree with you. Ruby and Sam are a no-go here in this episode.
Yeah.
And Sam's like, there's more to this story. And Dean's just like, yeah, just skip the nudity, please. Soon after Sam and Ruby slept together, Sam found some signs that Lilith was in town. And then it cuts to 5 months earlier. And Ruby's trying to convince him that he's not ready, because he's not, and says, like, you have to wait until you get it right. And they're having this whole argument about this. And during this argument, Ruby realizes that Sam wants to go out swinging. He wants to die in this confrontation with Lilith. And although Sam says that's stupid, Ruby's like, well, no, actually, you're right, because if you kill her and you survive this, then you have to go on without your brother. And that isn't what Dean would have wanted. This isn't what he died for.
I hated those 2 lines. I was like, you do not get to say that. You demon lady, do not get to use Dean's name in vain.
I mean, it's a good like manipulative emotional tactic.
Yeah.
But then it doesn't work because, you know, Sam just says, "Get out of my way," and leaves. With her shouting after him. Like, literally, he threatens her with a knife to get her out of the way of the door.
No.
So, it's interesting that it doesn't work, but Dean's not there, so it wasn't going to work.
Yeah, no. This needs to come from Dean for it to have an impact. Yeah. Like I said, using Dean's name in vain. Again, this was a very physical thing for Sam. It wasn't an emotional thing, at least not yet. Until the second time around of her saving his life. Yeah. Okay, it feels very love bomby. It's all the red flags. It is all the red flags.
It's many red flags.
This would never work. Sam would always go after Lilith, no matter the case, unless it was Dean who told him not to.
I mean, I don't know. Even if Dean told him not to at this point, he is very laser focused on Lilith.
That's true.
The revenge is strong with this one.
The revenge is very strong. Yeah.
I mean, Dean's worried about him going dark side. I think in some ways Sam already has.
Yes.
I don't feel like there's any way to convince him to not go after Lilith and use his powers at this point. There's kind of like, you know, Sam's like, you know, I won't use them, I'll try not to use them, but there's always points at which he's going to do it. We said this before. I think Dean's too late with this one.
Do you think... No, I was going to say, do you think he's addicted to the power? I don't think so. I think he's just... He has reasoned it to the point of it saves people and therefore it's okay. That not using it feels like not using a gun or not using holy water or not using devil's traps.
Again, it's very John Winchester. The ends justify the means. Right? So no matter what I have to do to get there, I will kill Lilith or I will protect Dean while doing it. Sam is John. He just is.
He is, yeah. But like, we have sympathy for him because John is doing the wrong things for the wrong reasons. Yeah. And at the expense of his family. Whereas Sam is doing the wrong things for the right reasons and trying to save people.
And I mean, this is why we have sympathy for Cass too. He makes some very big mistakes in the seasons for the right reasons. And Dean does too. Ultimately, this show's about flawed people making stupid decisions.
And that's basically TV, though, isn't it?
It is. And I do love Sam for it. I fully understand why he wants to go after Lilith. Like, it is a revenge thing. She sent Dean to hell for 40 years. And he doesn't know what happened to him there. And as far as he can tell now, is trying to end the world. So it makes sense for him to sacrifice himself to, you know, save everybody. That's Sam, isn't it? Like, of course he would.
I love the fact that like we were both like kind of about this episode, but we're getting really like philosophical about it.
We find our own good in these episodes.
We didn't last week, but we did this week because there's substance. There is substance in this.
There is, yeah.
And there's a lot of foundation work that's being done in this outside of setting up for the next episode.
Absolutely.
And setting up a lot for like what's coming, which makes sense for why Sarah Gamble is in charge of this.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Or wrote this.
Yeah.
So we come back from the commercial break. We're still 5 months earlier. So that he's had a month of training, I guess. He's gone to this house in the suburbs. And we know that Lilith likes to take over young girls, which is creepy, but there you go. So he sees this. She looks like Alice in Wonderland, basically.
She does, yeah.
Surrounded by cakes. He sneaks into the house and the girl turns around and says, you know, please, I just want to go home. So do you think Lilith is actually possessing her at that point?
No.
I do. I think, no?
No, I don't think she's there.
Okay.
I think it was a trap.
And then 2 demons attack Sam. And he, again, loses a knife. We've talked about cosmic bungee. Oh, no, we've talked about bungee, and then he talks about cosmic bungee, which I thought was great. I need to design that. I actually have it in my mind as to what I want to do. I just need to actually get to do it, and I'm not sure how to do it.
Can't wait to see that.
So the girl says, please, I just want to go home. The two demons attack Sam, and he loses the knife. And the demon says Lilith sends her regrets, but she couldn't make it. So the reason why I say that is because demons lie.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, Ruby is there because obviously she is. You know, she's going to protect her asset essentially.
Her asset.
It's going to protect her booty call. She yells at Sam to take the girl and run. The demon, oh, you know what? This is all set up by Ruby, isn't it?
Yeah, of course it is. Come on.
Yeah, this is all set up by Ruby because the demon says, Ruby, you're in so much trouble. We're going to get you in the basement and things we're going to do to you. Sam manages to exorcise the demon with his mind, which, again, they use the same heartbeat sounds and the same whoosh noise and all that kind of stuff.
So Sam managed to exorcise the demon when someone he possibly cares about is in trouble.
Yeah.
So I do think that Ruby set all this up to be a high emotive situation, and for him to finally use his powers to successfully exorcise the demon.
Yeah, and to see what it feels like. You can kind of see her getting frustrated.
Yeah.
With the first exorcism that we see on screen, because she is the one that ends up eventually killing the demon because she knows it's not going to work.
Yeah.
Which is where I'm like, she probably did it this way, right? Okay, I'm going to go full tin hat, right? She did it this way in Sam just trying to do the demon pulling with nothing there and just like point your hand at him, try and pull it out, right? Knowing it's not going to work because she knows it has to be an emotional thing to get it at least started so we can actually get a feel for what it's like to actually exercise something.
Yeah.
Because we then see it later, like in the beginning of this season, that he manages to do it without like the intense need for the adrenaline rush, essentially. But then he can then pull a more powerful demon, the Samhain, when Dean was in trouble. But then he wasn't powerful enough to exercise Alistair. Yeah.
So she's been building him up. So you're right. He needed this first, like, what it feels like with the high emotions. But I feel like once he did it the first time, a dam kind of breaks and he's able to... It still takes a lot of effort. Even lower level demons, it was still a lot of effort for him to exercise them. I feel like Samhain was a exception to that because it was an extremely dangerous situation for him. So he's getting more and more powerful the more he uses his powers, which the Yellow-Eyed Demon said that would happen. The more he used them, the more powerful they would get. Yeah, so really, Ruby just needed to get him to use them. Like, it just needed to happen. And so she orchestrated herself to be in trouble. That's what I think.
Yeah. We're reading way too much into it, and I love it.
I love it too.
So we're back in the motel room, and we're back to present day.
Ruby came back for me. Whatever you have to say, she saved me. More than that, she got through to me. What she said to me, it's what you would have said. If it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be here.
I don't believe that. I think he needed to go to Bobby. He needed to reach out to other people, and he instead isolated himself, which led him vulnerable to her manipulation.
I agree with you. I will say this for Ruby, though. I don't think Sam would have ever gone to Bobby. I think he would have ended up hunting until he died if he didn't get Dean back. And I think it is only because of her giving him some direction here that he managed to not go down that truly obsessive path that John did. Yeah,
and of course Bobby would have tried to talk him out of it.
Yeah.
And tried to help where he could, but not in the way that Ruby's able to.
I never feel like Bobby has the same like clout with Sam that he does with Dean. I think probably because Sam and John are so similar. Whereas like Dean's always looking for that kind of like fatherly connection. Like he's looking for Bobby's approval, so he listens to him more. Whereas I think Sam obviously looks up and like admires Bobby, but he doesn't need his approval.
Right.
Because he just knows himself a bit more than Dean. So I feel like he would have been so stubborn and just gone off hunting. Yeah. So I think he's partially right. Like, Ruby did give him a direction to like vent his frustrations with Dean's death. But who knows what would have happened if Dean hadn't come back.
Yeah, you know, they might have met in hell.
They might. Oi! Demon bros.
Yes. And of course, you know, as any deep conversation goes, or they're interrupted by a knock on the door, or just interrupted in general, but then interrupted by a knock on the door, and the person says housekeeping, and Dean's like, not now. And the housekeeper is very insistent. Dean goes to open the door and is like, what's going on? And it turns out that the Ruby is possessing this housekeeper. And she gives them the address and tells them to go out the back window. Don't take the car, just go now. Like, they're going to follow you otherwise. And it is interesting. I think Sam is attracted to Ruby's vessel. Not necessarily Ruby, or not vessel, but possessed human. Because Sam asks, what about like the body that she usually possesses? And she says, well, slowly rotting away on the floor on the cabin. So like, he wants to know what's happening to that other body. Like, he's never asked about the other people that they jump between.
That's very true. To give Sam the bit of the benefit of the doubt, that's her, like, I would say kosher body.
No, I get what you mean.
You know
like,
what I mean?
Like, yeah, it's her.
It's the morally right body. So
yes.
I guess she's still inhabiting this poor housekeeper who like has no consent in the issue. So I'm going to give Sam a little bit of the benefit of the doubt and say maybe that's why. But you're probably also right. It's just like, where's your brunette body gone? Like, I was getting very attached
my wife?
to that body. Yeah.
Where's my wifey?
Where's my wife? God.
Silly, but I love it. We see them like trekking towards this cabin in the woods, and they manage to like enter. And it's kind of interesting that Anna says here, like, because Sam asks if she's okay. She says, yeah, I think so. Ruby's not like, oh, the demon. She saved my life.
Yeah, which is
so she's echoing everything that Sam was saying and like just earlier, and that might lean this like apology and thanks that Dean tries to give. He doesn't say he doesn't say thank you. He doesn't say like sorry. No. He's just like, you know, I guess I owe you for Sam, and you know, he just can't get it out. He can't get it out at all, and he's acting sincere, and that is it. Like, I do think he is grateful and thankful that Ruby kept Sam alive.
Yeah, I think it's for the same reasons we just talked about. Like, he could see the path that Sam was going down with the obsessive hunting thing, and sees that Ruby has pulled him out of that, sort of. Yeah. So he is thankful to her for that. I do still think he thinks that she's manipulative.
Yes. Yeah, and like not a good quote unquote person.
Yeah. But he's giving her an olive branch here, sort of. It's not very sincere. But
but the thing is, he's done that before, and it threw back in his face, and
I think he's doing it here for Sam's sake, because he can see that Sam obviously cares about her. So it's better for him to try and have this not be a point of friction between him and Sam anymore.
Yeah, definitely. And with that not being a friction anymore, it makes it easier for him to brush off talking about hell.
Oh yeah, that too. The great sidestepper, Dean Winchester.
Like, if they can't start an argument.
Yeah. Master of avoidance.
Anna sort of interrupts this awkward moment and says, hey, Sam, do you think it's safe to make a quick call? I'd like to talk to my parents. And Sam struggles to tell Anna that her parents are dead. She starts to sort of break down a little bit, and she basically cuts off straight away because she says they're coming. She doesn't specify who, but things start to like flicker in the room. They hide Anna. So the whole thing is to protect Anna from whoever's coming.
Mm-hmm.
Ruby asks where the knife is, and they don't answer. She's frustrated, of course.
About that.
You're kidding.
Hey, don't look at me.
Thanks a lot.
It is very convenient how many times they like in I can't think of the episodes, but season 3 they literally just lost the cult when they need it, and now they just lose the knife when they need it, and she's there at both times and she's getting pissed. Like, I'm surprised she didn't make a reference to the cult at this point.
I know, right?
Like, I feel like that would be a Ruby thing to do.
They look so incompetent to her, I swear.
I've given you 2 demon killing objects and you've lost both of them. You get nothing.
Get nothing else from me.
And then as everything's like building up, the door rattles and bursts open. I'm like, well, that's an angel entrance. That's not a demon entrance. No demon enters that way.
I knew. Because they did the wing flapping noise.
They also did that too, yeah. Yeah. But that came slightly after the door bursts open.
Oh, I thought it went flip, 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 flip. Boom, door opens.
Oh, it could be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Misha was in the credits, so where's he been? There's only 2 minutes left this episode.
Well, I mean, maybe they were like, you know, he was in the recap. That's good enough.
No. Yeah, so Cass comes in, and then Uriel is kind of behind him and sort of enters as well. They're all looking very righteous fury, so very stone-faced. And Dean kind of looks relieved. He's like, please tell me you're here to help. We've been having demon issues all day. And Uriel says, I can see that. Do you want to explain why you have that stain in the room? And like, you know, at Ruby, and her eyes flicker black as he addresses her. Castiel says, we're here for Anna. He doesn't even like look at Dean really. And Dean says like, here for her. He like, here for her or what? They explain. So Sam's like, you're going to help her, right? And the episode ends with Cass saying,
No. She has to die.
So yeah, we're on a to be continued. It kind of makes sense that the angels want her to die at this point without knowing who she is, because she can listen to their angel radio, so is a security risk.
A breach in their communications.
Exactly, yeah.
So how do you think they found out about her? Was it through demons they found out?
Good question. Or
could they feel someone listening? And
but it's been like 2 months. I reckon, okay, here's what it is, I think. Ruby got wind of big demons hunting Anna, right? Mm-hmm. I think probably they wouldn't ignore that either. Also, I think Cass spies on Dean way more than he lets on.
Oh, yeah. Oh, for sure. We already know this. He has a podcast. We've already established this.
So it could be that as well, that he's just been tailing them and has seen this going down and then, you know, went and told everyone else.
So yeah, it's just to be continued, an actual to be continued, though, where like it's not going to be solved in the next 10 minutes of the next episode.
Yeah, it's a whole damn ass episode.
Yeah, should be a good one, and I can tell you what it's called.
Please do.
It's not called, and I still know what you did last summer.
That would have been good. Oh.
It would have been good because it would have been. Would it? No.
It wouldn't have really worked, but it would have been good.
No, it would have been good. Next episode is called. I'll give you a guess.
Okay.
Do you want to guess what it's called? It's really obvious. It is really obvious if you think about it. Who is in the episode we just watched?
Anna.
What is Anna?
An angel.
And who else is in it?
Dean.
It's called Heaven. It's called Heaven and Hell.
Oh, okay. Wow, that was the best guess I ever did. I was like, it's going to be called Angel. No, Heaven and Hell makes total sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. I mean, there's not much really else to say about this episode because it's a build-up, so we'll probably talk about it next time too. But yeah, we got to find out what Sam did with his summer break, which is apparently bang hot demons. and do some exorcism. So good for him. He's having a hot girl summer, like literally hot.
Yep.
There were fires.
Yeah, burning
involved.
hell. Yeah. Oh, God. Do you think he's covered in like sulfur dust? And would he still be able to smell sulfur because he's been exposed to it for so long?
If you hook up with a demon, would someone be able to tell because you smell very strongly of eggs afterwards? Because
Gross.
I feel like Dean should have got wise pretty early on that he was banging Ruby because of the sulfur smell. Right, because you absolutely have a point there.
Yeah. Yep, I do.
I'm just thinking about Dean and Crowley's like Summer of Love and how much sulfur was involved in that now. Like,
because we know that they can only smell sulfur when they bring the powder up to their nose.
True.
So maybe that's the reason why. Like, because as soon as in episode 1, as soon as they went to the hotel room, he should have been able to smell the demon.
He should have been like, "Did you cook some eggs in here this morning? Because like,
you're having breakfast for dinner."
Yeah. Maybe Ruby's too low-level demon to leave sulfur deposits. Like, she's not Tinkerbell level of demon. I don't know. The sulfur thing is dumb. I feel like it should just be a dusting. I like dusting.
Okay. So is there anything else that you wanted to add to this?
I feel like we went the full way.
Yeah,
this
we did everything. We did the whole gambit today.
The whole thing. Off the rails it was.
A nice little discussion about demons and Stitch. So, at the end of the episode, we would like to thank the Pixel Agora for his amazing logo art and the new Pride one that he gave us last year, which we couldn't use because we changed at the end of June. So we're like, we'll save it for this year.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for that, and we will be making the Pride one available on our Redbubble, and any profits we'll be donating to the Trevor Project.
Yeah.
So if you want to get that and any other designs with our regular logo, a portion goes to the Pixel Agora.
Exactly.
You can also find us all over social media. We're on Tumblr, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all of that. So come talk to us about your thoughts and theories. We want to hear them all. We are Escaping Purgatory Podcast or Escaping Podcast on Twitter.
So this week, we had a flashback to like our hot girl summer from last year, which was really good to be fair. But we all came out of it smelling like eggs. So next week, hopefully we can find our way out. Bye.
Bye.